Room. Today we are here to preview tomorrow's game against Manchester United. It's going to be a real big one. But today I'm joined by Damon, Matty, and Tino. First of all, Damon, I'll start with you. How are you doing, mate?
Oh, good, mate. All good. Yeah, nice result earlier, and then tomorrow, I'm feeling the nerves now already. To be honest, the last couple of years I've been getting nervous over Man United, which is weird, but it's getting back to that stage again of being nervous. I know they're terrible at the moment, but we're not pulling up trees our way in the last two games, so I'm nervous now.
How about you, Matty? How are you feeling?
Very confident, to be honest, when I ever not. But I do think that we'll batter United. Casemiro can't play, but I do feel like he's going to be a player who comes in as good as he is. I think it might be similar to Varane, who, because he was in that Real Madrid side, which was so good when he comes to United and he's playing with Fred and McTominay, he's got to do a lot more work and stuff. But I'm confident. I think United are very poor. Although we've only got 2 points on the board, I do think that performance against Crystal Palace was encouraging. We played really well. We just need to take our chances more. So I'm very confident, to be honest.
And Tino, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good. Looking forward to the game. Like Matty said, it's about taking chances, and the response we got following the Fulham game was relatively positive, even though the result wasn't there. So yeah, I'm confident we'll come out of the game tomorrow with 3 points.
And before we go on, there's something I wanted to pull up. A poll LFC Transfer Room did on the 20th of August, so not too long ago, that it said, if losing to Manchester United guaranteed that we sign a top midfielder this summer, would you agree to it? And 28% said, yes, we'd take a loss to Man United if it meant that we sign a midfielder. And then 72% said, no, we cannot lose to United. Doesn't matter if we sign a midfielder or not. We're not losing to them lot. Dane, what are your thoughts on that? Because 28% is kind of a bit shocking, isn't it, really? But can you understand what they're thinking?
No. There's no way I'm losing to Man United. I don't care if you bring me Mbappe, Messi, and Ronaldo, prime Ronaldo, back into this team. There's no way I'm losing to Man United. Not a chance. Not a chance. I'd rather have 5 players out and not lose to Man United. You know what I'm saying? It's a different level. I don't want to lose any game, but Man United is the one where I feel it for days, weeks after, and I don't want that to happen. So no chance.
Matty, can you understand the thinking process behind it? Because obviously thinking about the long term, in the course of the season, if we sign a midfielder, maybe a loss against United, we can make it up over the course of the season.
Nah, don't understand anyone who's done that. If you voted that, you're not a Liverpool fan, in my opinion. I think it's absolutely stupid if you take a loss to United. As much as we need a midfielder, a loss to United is just I don't, because if we lose to United, that puts them above us. And when they won the Bangkok Cup, they thought they had won the Champions League against us. So imagine if they're above us for like a few weeks. I'm not, as much as I want a midfielder, I could never take a loss to them. I hate them. I can't stand them. And winning them is the best thing in the world. Like, up the Glazers. That's what I always say. Up the Glazers. I'm made up with how that club's going. It just feels like roles reversal. They're suffering like we did when we were kids. So I could never, ever take a loss to them, ever. I hope we don't beat them like 5 or 6-0, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, I love that, to be fair. I do rate that. Tino, do you have any different thoughts to any of these guys, or are you exact same?
I'd love to play devil's advocate and say, oh, yeah, like we really need a midfielder, we're really desperate, and I take a loss, but I'd be doing a disservice. So I honestly can't say that. As much as we do need a midfielder, it's the bragging rights that come with losing to United, like a derby. It's the weeks and months afterwards that they're still trying to rip into us if we lose that, and I couldn't deal with that aspect of it. Plus, after the 2 poor results already this season, we really need to kick on and get going. So absolutely not a chance would I accept a United loss if it guaranteed us getting in midfielder, because I think long term we'll be all right in that department.
Definitely. But yeah, we'll move on to topic we're just talking about now, midfield. We've been talking about a lot over the last 2 weeks, a lot. And yeah, we'll just talk about kind of what's your ideal midfield for this game? Because there's a lot of combinations you can go with. And Fabinho, we'll start with Fabinho because he's looked off it the last 2 weeks, the last 2 games. And even though he's been kind of said in the past, best CDM in the world, best defensive midfielder in the world, at the minute, he's far from it, really, isn't he? And yeah, you have to look at it. Is he droppable for this game? Damon, do you think Klopp might go and play Henderson or someone else in that role?
He's not droppable. No, there's no way he's getting dropped. No way. I don't understand if Henderson was actually playing well, but he's not playing well himself. There's no way I'm dropping him for Henderson. And after that, Milner. I know you like Owen, but there's no way I'm playing at Milner. Yeah, Fabinho's nailed on for this game. Personally, I would go with Naby and Harvey for it. I think a lot of people have been saying Fabio Cavallo and Harvey Elliott. I think that's just too much pressure on Fabinho then to really hold it himself. I think Naby gives at least something to go back and forth, where Harvey Elliott will roam around number 10 area. So yeah, I would go Naby and Harvey because of the experience of Naby over Fabio. I think it's just too attacking with Fabio. It'd be nice to go for it and see what happens, but nah, you got to really be careful what you wish for sometimes.
Matty, would you like to see Naby starting? Is that something you'd be willing to see, or is he kind of just out of the equation? Because yeah, we haven't seen a lot of Naby Keita at all really so far this season at all. Well, we haven't seen him play a single minute.
If his agent talks to be believed, no, I don't want to see him. I don't like anyone who thinks they're bigger than the club. And the fact he's apparently saying that he's not happy with his playing time, well, he needs to be fit to play games. So it's not the club's fault that he's underwhelmed. It's not the club's fault how injury prone he is, and he's moaning about game time. I think he probably will start tomorrow. But on Fabinho, I don't think he's been that bad, to be honest with you. I think Fabinho at the minute is trying to do 3 roles, so he's looking worse. He hasn't got the legs to do that. He hasn't got the license to be that holding midfielder at the minute because the midfield's so weak. So against Palace, he's doing the job of 3 midfielders. Now I'm not saying Harvey Elliott or James Milner played bad because they didn't. They had a good game. But if you put Fabinho in a team where it's got, say, Thiago and Elliott or Henderson in front of him, and he can actually be a holding midfielder and know he can do it, then he's fine. I think just at the minute, it's similar to when we had the centre-back crisis, and it felt like Fabinho was doing too much. He hasn't got the legs to do that. He should just be left to be the holding midfielder because the midfield's up in arms at the minute. I think Fabinho is trying to do too much. But in my opinion, he's still the best holding midfielder in world football, and it's not even close to him. He's a special player. Tomorrow, though, I'd probably start Fabinho, Henderson, and Harvey Elliott, to be honest with you. I think if you're going based on form, you can only be as good as your last game. Harvey Elliott's done nothing to be dropped. He deserves to start tomorrow. And Naby Keita, although when he's at it, he probably is one of the best midfielders in the league. It's just when he's at it, because it's very, very rare that he's at it now. And his attitude the past few weeks with his agents, I don't like it. I really don't like it. And I don't like that agency. They leaked that man. He was going before a Champions League final. And now we're playing United on Monday, and Naby's saying he's not happy with his game time. I just don't like players like that. And if he wants to go, let him go. No player's bigger than this club. We've seen it time and time again. And to be honest with you, he won't be missed.
Having said that, though, last season, Old Trafford, Naby Keita, he did get the start. And yeah, what performance he put in that game, he was unbelievable. He got a goal, and was it 2 assists he got in that game? Unbelievable from Naby.
If he's at it, he is so good. With that semi-final against Manchester City in the FA Cup, that midfielder, Fabinho, Thiago, and Keita was mouth-watering. He is unbelievable when he's on it. But I reckon he's been on it 4 times in his 4 years at Liverpool.
Yeah, it's just not enough, is it? And yeah, he was unbelievable that day. But I think it'd be fair to say that was probably his best game in the Liverpool shirt. Tino, Naby Keita, where's your stance on him? Because I feel like in the whole fan base, it's really divided when it comes to Naby Keita. You either love him or you hate him.
My opinions on Naby Keita has changed over the 4 years he's been here, however long it's been. At the start, I was like, this is the guy who we've brought in, who's going to change our game, who's going to change the way we play, because we didn't have someone who could do what he did, the drive in that midfield to drive forward, the power that he had in those driving runs, whilst also doing his defensive work. We didn't have someone who was creative in that sense. But he just hasn't been there. It's got to the stage now where I'm sat here like just get rid. Just get rid. I don't want him anywhere near the team because he's too inconsistent for me to back him. If he's on the pitch, I 100% back him, and I wish him. If he's on the pitch, I wish he absolutely batters it. But Klopp clearly doesn't trust him because he hasn't been playing. He hasn't been playing at all, and when he has been playing, he hasn't been consistent. So it's got to the point where we should have sold earlier on in this window and replaced him. We should have sold him and Ox and revitalized that midfield almost. Like I said, if he does start, I'll back him, but I don't want him to. Jumping back slightly to Fabinho, I do think Fabinho needs a rest. I do think he needs a rest, but I don't think it's the right game to rest him in. Maybe against Bournemouth or someone else lower down over the next couple of weeks. Either don't start him and put Henderson in the 6 because I don't think Henderson is horrific in the 6. Don't get me wrong, he's not as good as Fabinho, but I don't think he's as bad as people make out to be. Or start Fabinho, take him off at 60, 70 minutes, give his legs a bit of a break, because it is a lot of work to do in that midfield when you haven't got someone like Henderson and Milner in there who are going to run their bollocks off and work as hard as they possibly can for everybody else in the team to provide them that little bit of freedom to be creative with the fullbacks to maybe not do as much running for Fabinho, so he can just focus on screening and maybe winning the ball up high if we try and get countered. So I do think Fabinho needs a rest, but Naby Keita should be nowhere near this Liverpool side. He's not good enough for Liverpool. He's not good enough for this squad. And we should have got rid earlier on this summer, maybe even last year, and freshened up our midfield. Which I'm really, as a fan of Naby Keita, as a guy who at the start I was backing, and I loved the fact that we signed him. I'm genuinely gutted that it hasn't worked out for him. And the one thing that also does annoy me about Naby Keita is the timing of it. After the United game, I'd have been fair enough if you're annoyed at the fact that you're not playing. Fair enough, voice those concerns. I get it. I understand every player wants to be playing consistently, but to do it in the lead up to the United game after a poor start to the season already is just, it's despicable. It's disgusting. And anybody who understands Liverpool Football Club and understands how big this game is would know that it's not the right time to raise those concerns.
A question I've thrown out before on stream, I don't think any of you guys were on there as well then, but who do you think is the worst signing between Naby Keita for 55 million or Oxlade-Chamberlain for 40 million? Because I think it's a really, really close one, Damon. What do you think?
It is hard, isn't it? Because Naby Keita came with like a real expectation of being this world-class midfielder, and I was tipping him to be Player of the Year. That's how good he was, and especially that first game against West Ham, I think he was unbelievable. And then against that Palace game, did that turn against Palace, didn't he, in his own half, and he spread it like 8 yards. We were like, what is this player? What is this player? And he had number 8 shirt as well with Gerrard's shirt, which is a lot of pressure when it comes in. But the injuries have killed him off. I would say Ox is the worst, just because I think he's had more chances than Naby in terms of getting a run of games, especially that first season he came in. He played well for Champions League. He had a couple of good games, and that's it. I've seen more performances from Keita than I have Ox, and it's only 10 million difference. So I would say Ox is the worst one. I remember when Keita sort of helped as well. You know that year we had all them injuries. It was Keita and Trent and Salah that dragged us through that last period. Keita was unbelievable for the last couple of months. So yeah, I'd have to say Ox is the worst one by far.
Matty, what about you? Who would you pick out them two?
I don't know. I really don't know, because the Ox, prior to injury, was one of our best midfielders, and I think a lot of fans forget that because of how injured he is being. But if Ox wouldn't have got injured in that semi-final against Roma, I think he could have been a difference in that Champions League final in Kiev, because he was unbelievable when he came into us. And the injuries have ruined him. So if you're going off all round what they've done for the club, etc., I'd probably say the Ox is is worse of a sign than Keita. But if the Ox didn't get injured, I reckon we'd be talking about him as one of our better midfield players, to be honest with you, because prior to injury, he was fantastic for us. And it's just that he's like a bit like Sturridge for me, where you're just gutted that the injuries ruined it, because what a player he could have been for us, because he was fantastic before them injuries.
I'd have to go with Ox as well. I think just, yeah, for the price tag as well, 15 million less. It's like he just offered more during that period. And at one stage, he was a game changer with Naby Keita. Was he ever really for us? And has he ever really been kind of a player who you think, yeah, you can change the game, you can win us this game? Not really. Tino, where do you stand on it?
That's a tough one. For me, it's a really tough one, because, as you've mentioned, Ox was unbelievable at the start. He was arguably one of our most creative, one of our most influential midfielders in that Champions League run. And then the injury, and then the setback, and then another setback, and then. Whereas Naby Keita, it's just been inconsistency for me. Injuries haven't helped, but I think it's been inconsistency, because even when he has played, he's not putting those performances as often as you would have hoped. For me, I'm looking at, I was more hurt by Ox's injuries because of how influential he was. But then I look at the Naby Keita issues and injuries and inconsistencies and how much he's let you down. And it's just, that's really tough. I'd have to go narrowly, very narrowly. I'd have to go Ox, just because I was expecting a lot from Naby Keita, but Ox, I was genuinely gutted. I was absolutely gutted when he got injured the first time before the game, the Champions League semi. It was just, I think narrowly it has to be Ox for me.
Ox wins in the comments, and 3-1 here. So Ox is a better sign than Keita. Keita is probably arguably the worst sign in our history. Wow, that sounds bad, doesn't it? But moving on to a more promising, brightful talent who we all kind of here agreed in agreement and unified that Harvey Elliott, he should be starting every game going forward. Damon, he's looked just great, isn't he, in our team? And that partnership down the right-hand side with Trent and Mo Salah, it's only promising for the future, and it's really exciting, isn't it? Maybe you haven't had the best start, but that's definitely a positive.
The best thing about him is it's his confidence to pick up the ball. He's never hiding once. He's always looking back at the defenders. Give me the ball. And you see Henderson hiding sometimes in matches, and this is the captain, and a guy at his age, Harvey Elliott, to have that confidence now is just quite scary for the rest of the league, because it can only get better, especially under Klopp. I mean, there was questions before the season. I think I got asked a question: either will Curtis Jones or Harvey Elliott have a better season? And I hands down said Harvey Elliott. There's something special about Harvey Elliott compared to Curtis Jones. Curtis Jones is just a squad player, whilst Harvey Elliott is an absolute star. And you've seen that in this. It could do with adding a bit more goals and a bit more assists to his game, but I don't think it helps with a different midfield every week that you have to play with. I think it needs a consistency of a midfield to play with as well as players up front, because he'll have Firmino to play again this week, and he had Nunes week before. Injuries have killed us off, but hopefully Harvey Elliott can stay fit, because he's special.
Matty, is it a bit of a concern that Harvey Elliott, he hasn't scored many goals at all? I don't think he's scored a single goal in the Premier League. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I don't think he's got many assists, if at all, any. Is it time we kind of get a bit more critical, get a bit more sort of ambitious on him, a bit more hard? He's 19 years old now, so he's kind of getting older, kind of growing more. His influence is increasing. Should we be expecting more from Elliott?
I don't think so, no. Because I think Liverpool's midfielders aren't meant to score goals as much as we want them to. I think Gini Wijnaldum was the best example of that, because whenever he played out of Liverpool, like Holland and stuff, he scored goals. Klopp likes his midfield to be the engine, the ones who bring the play from front to back, and then the midfielders don't really need to be scoring goals when you've got Mo Salah and Diaz and stuff like intertwine, and especially with Mané and that as well. So I don't think our midfielders are meant to go out and score goals and get assists. To be honest with you, I think it's more on the front attacking people, because just every midfielder we see, they seem to not to be completely different when they go into that Liverpool midfield. And Harvey Elliott's certainly capable of it. And I do think one thing that excited me about Elliott in that Palace game, he was finding himself quite often in the box, which none of our other midfielders do. So I do think Elliott will have goals that'll come, but I don't think it matters too much, because if Harvey Elliott can play every week like he did against Palace, I'd be happy with him. He was everywhere, chasing balls down. If he lost the ball, he'd chase and get it back. He was fantastic, and that's what Klopp wants from a midfielder. He doesn't want someone who'll score goals, unfortunately, because to me, knowledge, since Klopp's been in, I can't think of any midfielders who have, apart from Coutinho, and he inherited him. So I can't think of anyone Klopp's brought in who does score goals for us, to be honest. But Harvey Elliott.
Sorry to interrupt you, Matty. Super sticker from Jen here. Donation. Thank you so much, Jen. Really, really appreciate it. Brilliant.
With Elliott, I think Elliott's very, very exciting. I think I'm not saying he's as good as Phil Foden, but he's Liverpool's Phil Foden. Like what he is to City, he's the one that everyone knows. He is going to be a diamond. He's going to be unbelievable. How composed he is for a 19-year-old as well. It's scary, and he's only going to get better. Like, he's nowhere near the peak of his career, and he's putting performances in like that. And I like him a lot, to be honest with you. When he signed his new deal, him saying, I want to end my career at Liverpool, that's the players you want. Players who are there for the badge and nothing else. And I really, really do rate Elliott. I really do. He should be starting every week.
And after today, we'll move on. The result, Man City drawing 3-3. It's wide open at the minute. And yeah, I think if Liverpool win, we go 2 points behind City. We're like 3 points behind Chelsea, and then 5 points. 3 points in front of Chelsea, and then 5 points in front of United if we win. So, Tina, how important is it we get the 3 points? It hasn't been an ideal start, but suddenly a poor start could turn into quite a good one, couldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned about it hasn't been a great start, even though the performances from the Fulham game to the Crystal Palace game, overall the performance improved, but the result wasn't there. It is vital we get a win before the game today for Man City drawing. I was thinking we've handed Man City the advantage in the title race. Arsenal are doing well, but they're not going to keep it up for the season. It's really going to be us and Manchester City. And I'm sat there thinking we've given them a lead already. We've wasted so many chances in both games, and it's going to be very difficult to turn it round. After today's result, it gives me a lot of hope. I know it's a very long season anyways, and they were bound to drop at some point. I just didn't expect it to be this soon. It's such a huge game, not just because it's a chance to finally get 3 points after this season, not just because it's Manchester City and their result today, but because it's Manchester United, and it'll put them bottom of the league as well. It's such a huge game, and it's so vital that we get off to the start we should have had right at the beginning two games ago. For me, Harvey Elliott has to start. I think he's a phenomenal young lad. I was maybe a bit critical of him after the Palace game, in terms of I thought it could be maybe a bit more direct in terms of when he picks up the ball and running, trying to create something. But he was brilliant in that Palace game. He for me, he was the barring Diaz, he was the best player on the pitch. He did the dirty work. He worked hard defensively and offensively. He created a lot of space for his teammates. He was, as Damon said, he was never shy. He always wanted the ball. It was a phenomenal performance by him, and it was unfortunate that we didn't walk away with the 3 points. But it's such a vital game against United, and it's a chance to put to bed the poor start to the season and progress and kick on, and also try and get one over on United and Manchester City. So it's such a huge game, and it's going to be a tough one, because I think Manchester United, albeit they're trash, when you go into a derby, form goes out the window, because every player on each team just steps it up a level. just because it's a derby. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we'll get the 3 points, and I'm hoping Harvey Elliott will be the guy to help us provide that.
But wouldn't it be typical if Man United ended up after their horrendous start? Obviously, the protest before the game, there's all the talk about that. But wouldn't it be typical if they went and got a result against us? Wouldn't it? It really would be typical. And I'm worried that something's going to come, something's going to happen, and they're going to find a bit of brilliance, a bit of quality that we just haven't seen so far this season. David, maybe Ten Hag might change up the system. He might change to a back three. Do you think that can maybe help them? Because they can't carry on playing the way they've been playing in that system. It's just been absolute terrible for them, isn't it? It's just been shooting themselves in the foot time and time again.
I don't know what Ten Hag can do, to be honest, because the players they've got, they just don't seem bothered, do they? I think that's what it is. Like Tino said, what Derby's got, form goes out the window because people get up for it, but Man United players just don't seem to be getting up for anything. Last year, they were walking around that pitch when we beat them 5-0. I've never seen a Man United team play like that against us in my life. Just the sheer effort. Forget the talent for a second. The sheer effort. We've had worse teams than they've had now. Way worse teams, and we've gone out and beaten Man United with worse teams. David Ngo scored a goal against Man United, and he won't get anywhere near that Man United team right now. So it's not about the talent. Sometimes it's about the effort, and I think if we don't beat Man United tomorrow, then we need to seriously look at ourselves, because we cannot not win. We've got to win, because at the end of the day, this Man United team will never get a better chance of beating them every season the way we have been doing. It's a weird fixture now, because it used to be us in the back seat and they in the drive seat, but we used to always give them a game. But now it's come to the point where we just dominate it, and it's a very weird fixture. I'm not as going into the game as I normally feel into a game like this. I usually feel like, come on, we need to get up for this. I feel like Man United will get up for it, and we need to take advantage of that. There's no excuses for Liverpool to not win tomorrow, and we've got to win, especially with Man City dropping points today. We've got to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and then there is the risk of like running complacent, because we know, Man United, they haven't been under good form. But Mohamed Salah, 6 goals last year, 2021 at Old Trafford, 6 goals. I remember at one stage it was like he had more non-penalty goals than Ronaldo there. So if Liverpool to have any chance of winning, then Mohamed Salah is going to be absolutely huge for us, isn't he, Matty? Like he always is. Whenever Liverpool play well, Mohamed Salah beating a man. And like in recent weeks, to be fair, you've had Mo Salah, and he's had 2-3 players marking him. Crystal Palace game was literally exactly that. Fulham in the first half, but in the second half of the Fulham game, it was 1v1 and he was away. He was away down that right-hand side. So if Mohamed Salah can get Luke Shaw 1v1, it's going to be happy days, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think with Salah as well, in the past few games, he's been trying very hard to cross the ball in for Darwin and get Darwin the goals. And I think Darwin obviously being suspended, that could help Mo, because we need him more than ever to be selfish. As I know we always moan about how selfish he can be, but tomorrow we need Mo Salah to be selfish. And I think United will probably put all the players marking Salah, but that's all right, because then that's leaving Luis Diaz free. And Luis Diaz he's a special footballer. So I think we'll turn them over, to be honest with you. I mean, United will be up for it. Like, let's not hide away from that. If they lose again, they've got no points from 9, the bottom of the table, and Liverpool have just beaten at home. So they will be up for it, but I just don't think they've got the quality. And in the side, I think if United don't start Ronaldo, it'll be a harder game for us, because he does nothing for them. Now he just stands there. But I do think we'll batter them, to be honest with you. I think there's nothing about United, and I think they're in the same situation Liverpool was when we had Hodgson and when like the Gillette days and stuff like that. And I know loads of people say, oh, well, your owners are buying players every year, but I do agree with stuff like Gary Neville says about the club. Like, it's rotten from the top, and that's why the players are like that. Yeah, they're bringing in all these players, but look at Casemiro. They brought him in on double his wages, on 400 grand a week for 4 years. He is not bothered. He's won all there is to win. He doesn't care if United are crap, because he's getting 400 grand a week till he's 35. And that's the problem with United. They're giving washed players massive contracts, and it's bad for them, but it's brilliant to watch it from our sake. But I think we turn them over. I just think they're weak everywhere. They're deflated. Maguire's awful. but they can't drop him because he's the club captain. So they'll probably start with Varane, who Varane's not that good if he's not got Ramos next to him. And I think Liverpool are just too deadly for them. I'd really like Bobby Firmino to be the Bobby Firmino show tomorrow, just for the nostalgia aspect of it, because I hate to admit how much he's declined and I love him. So I'd like to see Bobby turn him a new one, to be honest with you. A few no-look finishes, maybe a little dink over Martinez's head when he's on the line or something, because he's a midget. That'd be perfect.
Boy Firmino, yeah, he's been kind of forgotten about the last few months with the arrival of Darwin Núñez, Diogo Jota still hit the club, Luis Diaz coming in January. Boy's kind of taken a bit of a back seat, but we're going to need him in this game, aren't we, Tino? Like, when you look at it, who else have we got? We've got Fabio Carvalho, but if we're being realistic, is he good enough to start this early on in the forward line against United? It's arguable, but I think Bobby Firmino, this game is perfectly made for him. And to go and have a good performance, Bobby Firmino, he could turn around that first performance against Fulham, and yeah, he could now kind of earn himself a new contract in one game, couldn't he? Do you think that would be the case?
I think I'm like Matty. I really hope we get that old Bobby Firmino, the one that we've seen, the guy who was the system essentially. It was so vital to the way we played, and then the decline has just been, as much as I still think he's a top player, the decline has been evident. I think it's way too early to throw in Fabio Carvalho. It's such a huge game and there's a lot of pressure on him. To throw him in from the start, I think would be doing him a disservice and would be putting too much pressure on his shoulders. And when you look at these youngsters, I think you need to, it's not just about getting them game time, it's about getting them game time in the right games and in the right moments to aid the development. And I don't think throwing Fabio Carvalho in the start, as whether it's up top or whether it's on the left, and Diaz moves more centrally, however you want to do it, I don't think this would be the right game to throw him in. Give it Newcastle or Bournemouth or whoever else we're playing, a lower league team, once he's got a couple of cameos under his belt and minutes under his belt, then I think if he's in it, then it's the right moment. But Bobby's the only other guy we got because of injuries, and suspensions. Jota's still out, as much as he might be coming back early than everybody expected. He's still out. You've got Núñez, who was an absolute moron, who in the last game got the red card, so he's out for 3 games. So you really were relying on Bobby a lot. He has to show up and he has to turn up and be that guy to interlink between Salah and provide the space and drop deep and work as he usually does. But I do want to see Carvalho at some point during the game. If it's going well, 60, 70 minutes, rest some legs if we can, because it's going to be a hectic schedule between now and Christmas, especially with the World Cup. So I would like to see a couple of players maybe rested if it's going well, but Bobby has to turn up. He has to show up. This is the game that if he shows up, this is the game that he says to Klopp, I'm the guy again. I'm the guy who's gonna be the number one with Darwin out, with Jota out. When they come back, they're gonna have to fight to get their way back into this squad. And this is the perfect game to show Klopp, the fans, and the other players that he's back, and it's time for them to start battling hard to kick him out of the squad.
Damon, what do you think of Luis Diaz against Crystal Palace? Because I thought in the first half he was quite average, to be honest with you. I thought he was kind of quite quiet, didn't really get in the attacking areas that you want him in, and kind of came deep and then received the ball, passed out, and nothing really came from it. And then out of nowhere, he took on 5 players and then scored that fantastic solo goal. And he came alive, didn't he? He was unbelievable after that, just chasing all the and the press, chasing all the balls down. It was unbelievable just from him.
I think he's a man on a mission this season. I think last season we saw glimpses, didn't we, from him, what he's capable of, but he didn't have enough output at the end of the day last season, and he got called out for it by fans really in the off season. They were saying we could do with more goals from you. They weren't saying it directly to him. You have him on WhatsApp, do you? But they were saying we need more goals from him. We need more goals from him. And he's looked like a man on a mission this season so far. I know it was only 2 games in, but against Fulham he got a goal disallowed. That was unlucky to be disallowed. You know, he got a brilliant goal the other day. He hit the bar against Fulham. I think he's just feeling it now. And I've got him down as my player of the year this season. I thought he would. All he had to do is add goals to his game, and he's unbelievable. I think what a game tomorrow to really showcase yourself for. If he gets a goal or 2 tomorrow, wow, that is saying to the rest of the world, I'm here and I want to be the next big thing. And that tomorrow is the perfect game for it.
When you look at the United side and the defence, because obviously that's been quite a talking point over the last few weeks. Obviously Harry Maguire, there's Lautaro Martinez. No, not Lautaro Martinez. What's his first name? Alessandro. Yeah, that's the one. And then there's Rafael Varane. So you'd probably expect Varane to come in as a Real Madrid former defender. And yeah, he can't be any worse than the other two. So then it's either Harry Maguire or Martinez. So you look at it and think either one of them, Klopp's going to be licking his lips seeing them on the team sheet, because Harry Maguire, he's a liability. And then Martinez, you look at him, he's 5'9". You can exploit that. Matty, what kind of play would you like to see out of them to play? Because yeah, there's different ways to exploit both of them. And I think maybe without Darwin Núñez, because we're not going to have that height, I think seeing Harry Maguire play would be better for us.
Yeah, I agree. I think Varane's a dead set. I'd rather Maguire than Martinez, because I do rate Martinez, to be fair. He just gets bullied in the air. And if you look at our front 3, probably tomorrow be Diaz, Salah and Bobby, they're not tall themselves. So it's the advantage would be in the aerial duels where Van Dijk and Firmino and stuff will come into their own. So it's a tough one, really, because Liverpool are quite dominating on set pieces and corners and stuff, surprisingly. So I think I'd rather Martinez for that aspect, because Van Dijk's due a goal. But all round in the 90 minutes, I'd probably rather Maguire, because he is terrible. He's absolutely terrible. The fact Chelsea are linked to him and they're going to go and spend 60 million on him as well, it's mad. He is terrible. He really. I
disagree. As much as I'm not backing Harry Maguire, I'm not saying he's an amazing player, but I think he's only being like, I think he's only been put in the positions he's been is because United are mismanaging him. In this game against Liverpool, if Liverpool dominate as we expect them to do, United sit back, sit deep, Harry Maguire sitting deep as with the defensive line on the box is a perfect opportunity for him to show what he did at Leicester, which is...
Would Leicester play in a back 5 or a back 4 with him?
That's a good question.
I think it was a back 5.
Back 5. And it's still a good opportunity for him to show that he's a decent defender. He's not world class. He's not the best in the world, but playing him ridiculously high, signing him in the first place was a stupid decision from United, not let alone for 80 million. But when you're going to sign a player like that, you got to play deep. You can't sign him because he ain't got the pace. You've got to either play back 5 and play deep, or just play a back 4 and play deep in general, because he hasn't got the pace to play a high line. He hasn't got the leadership to be in that and to be in that back 2 and play that high. You've got to play him deep. You've got to play him deep, and he's been mismanaged by Manchester United, which has caused him to be Harry Maguire essentially and do all the things you see. Because
having said that, Tino, have they been playing him deep against us in the last 2 years?
Yes, to a certain extent, but Harry Maguire isn't the only problem in that team.
Oh,
Luke Shaw is positionally atrocious, which causes a lot of Harry Maguire's mistakes, because positionally Luke Shaw is probably the worst guy in that team, maybe coupled with McTominay, who runs about everywhere and forgets where he's meant to actually be playing. As much as Harry Maguire isn't the world's best defender, he's been drastically mismanaged. And I think if you shove him back in a Leicester or in another mid-table team who aren't going to dominate the ball, you're going to see the Harry Maguire that everybody expects to see. And if you play him in a back 5, allow him to sit deep, like England do to a certain extent. Play him on the left, allow him to make those dribbling runs like he does. I think you'll see the best Harry Maguire. But being United are they've got no system, they've got no style, they've got no structure at the club in general. The mismanagement over several different managers has led him to being this, it's Harry Maguire is trash. So as much as I think he's a trash player, I don't think he's as bad as people are making out. And I don't think just because he plays tomorrow, if he does, I don't think he's going to be the one player that you look at and think he's gonna make all these different mistakes. I think he has got a mistake in him, but I don't think he's as bad as people make out to be. I can't believe I just defended a United player.
Harry Maguire.
Harry Maguire is a fantastic player, according to Tino. Nah, only joking. Yeah, I think when you look at United as well, you've got to remember the midfield of McTominay and Fred. Obviously, sign Casemiro now, but is someone going to come in? Is Van der Beek going to come in? Is someone else going to come in? Like, I don't even know who else they've got there, but like, where did Liverpool go? And you look at the game and you think, yeah, Liverpool probably dominate. Liverpool will have most of the ball, and then United will sit back and kind of wait to counter-attack. Is that the way you kind of expect it to pan out, Damon? Is it kind of going to go that way, or is it going to maybe United going to come out from the start? The fans are going to be on them straight away. What do you see the game going like?
It's such a strange fixture, like I said earlier. Usually, Man United would come out the blocks, but in the past 2 years, they haven't been doing. I could see it being a little bit like the Fulham game for the first 10 minutes. If United do want it tomorrow, I mean, Ten Hag is going to get up from more than what Ollie would. So I do expect the first 10 minutes to be, United really trying to put their stamp on the game. But once Liverpool calm it down, I think that'll be it. Then I think it'll be Liverpool from there on, and I think it'll just be attack versus defence. If Liverpool can get an early goal in the first 10, 15 minutes, I mean, it could be any score. It could be another 5-6-0. Honestly, I'm hoping we'll get 10, but an early goal kills them, because for Man United, their confidence is as low as it ever gets, and when they concede, their heads go. You saw it last week against this is Brentford they're against. So no disrespect to Brentford, but as soon as they conceded that goal, that was it. It was goal after goal after goal. Imagine that against Liverpool. So let's just see it.
Matty, I think I could almost do your score prediction for you, if I'm being totally honest. 5-6-0. What are you saying?
Yeah, I do think we'll absolutely batter them. Honestly, I still believe Liverpool are the best side in world football, and that's not even being bitter and twisted, to be honest with you, because I know we probably do need a midfielder, but if this is the same midfield that took us to every single final last year and within a point of the league. Now, if Aston Villa would have held on, and I strongly believe what happened outside that stadium in Paris had an effect on the players. If we would have won the league and the Champions League, everyone would be hailing this midfield as the best midfield in the world. So I think Liverpool are just so far superior to Manchester United. I think we'll absolutely batter them. It'll be a 4-5-0 like it was last year. An ideal situation would be 3 assists for Trent and a hat-trick for Mo Salah, because my fantasy footy took a dive this week with City being crap. So I'd like Salah hat-trick, to be honest with you, just to help me fantasy footy out. But I do think we batter them. Like Damon said, if we get an early goal, it could be a cricket score, because the fans will instantly get on their backs then, and then you'll have all our fans on the wind up in like it was in the game last year when we were singing Ollie's at the wheel and stuff. I think we'll batter them. I really do. And it's not even being bitter. I just think United are so poor at the minute. It's brilliant to see. I hope our fans stand there and sing about the Glazers and how fantastic they are for that football club. But I'm going to put it on a thing and say 6-0 tomorrow. I reckon we'll surpass what we had last year, because Luis Diaz is in the team. I think Bobby will pull their defenders out of position like you wouldn't believe. I think Salah will be up for it because he didn't score last week. But yeah, 6-0. I reckon quite comfortably. United are terrible. And if Liverpool played like they do against Palace on Monday, we'll batter them. We just need to finish chances, and I think they would have worked on that this week.
Harry Maguire in a high line against Diaz and Salah.
Exactly.
Imagine Nunes as well, though. But it's such a shame that Nunes is not in this game, because the pace he's got is ridiculous. So that could have been even better for Liverpool. That could have been over 10.
Wow.
Tino,
Wow.
what's your score prediction? Are you as optimistic as that? Like, personally, I can't say I'm that optimistic, but yeah, I think we probably will win, but not 6-0.
The thing with Liverpool is we either absolutely batter a team and score 0 goals, or we batter a team and score about 8. Like there's no in between with us. So just because it's United, and I know we've scored a hell of a lot of goals in the past, for me, I reckon maybe 2-0. 2-0. I'm trying to be up. I want to be optimistic, but I'm just generally a negative person. So 2-0. I played my triple captain last week in fantasy and got stiffed because we were trash. So I would like it to be more for my fantasy and because, you know, we want Liverpool to win, but it ultimately doesn't matter about the score. For me, it's just about getting points on the board. We could win 1-0 by an own goal in the 90th minute. I'll take it. I'll take anything at this point. We just need to win. We just need to get that first victory on the board to set us on the right path to going forward. Helio mentioned, I've just found the comment now. Helio mentioned about the stats as a previous comment. Last 3 meetings, Liverpool scored 13, conceded only 2. That's good. That's going into tomorrow's game. That's brilliant to see, and especially how poor United have been recently. We need to get off to a good start. A first goal up within the first 10 minutes would be great. And even if we just sit back and don't do anything after that and just win 1-0, I'll take it, because it's just I couldn't care less how we win. It's just about getting that victory at this point.
And what about you, Damon?
I just want to batter him. I want to batter him. I can't take drawing. I can't even take drawing to Man United at the moment. I can't. I don't think I don't think you'll be able to year leave for me for like a week if we don't beat them tomorrow. It hurts. It hurts more than any game. So I think we should just go out there and really stick it to them and say, look, this is, if you want to be back where you want to be, then you need to look at how we go about things. I think I really want to. I know they're trying to empty Old Trafford tomorrow, but I want to help them on the way doing it. I want to get 4 goals in the first 20 minutes, and they'll be like emptying anyway. So yeah, the best image I've seen in the last 10 years was Alex Ferguson's face last season when we were battering them. That is the best thing I've seen in 10 years. Seriously, forget winning the league, forget winning the Champions League. It was Alex Ferguson's face. He was like, "This, what is this? I've done all the hard work for this," and I just want to win. Like Sebastian said, I think even a last minute goal, I'd take it. I think a last minute goal is even better than the battering sometimes, just because of the sheer elation. I think an own goal from Harry Maguire in the last minute would just be hilarious.
Comical, absolutely brilliant. I'll go with 3-1. I think we'll score a few, but I can see United getting one. Like we have to score.
Who's honestly going to score for Manchester United? That's
Just
all I
feel a bit sorry for them.
But we're all talking about this as if the game's going to go ahead. Like if United do what they want to do and protest the Glazers and the game gets delayed or postponed, like we could be looking at a game in an already hectic schedule, backed up a few weeks and fitted in here, there, and everywhere. And Jurgen's already said this week, if it gets postponed, we got to get the 3 points. We just got it. Like they did it last season, they're going to do it again. So we're talking about this as if the game is going to go ahead. And I think there's a real worry at this stage, from my perspective at least, that United are just going to do the same stuff. They're going to be annoyed at the owners and protest the owners, and it's just going to get delayed, and then it's going to make our season even more difficult.
Do you not think their fans are mad if they do that though? Because if you give Liverpool, say, 5 more weeks because if the fixture gets fit in then, because there's a gap for the Nations League and stuff, we've then got Darwin Núñez back. You could potentially have Thiago back. You could potentially have like Canate, Matip back. So we're stronger again. Like if you genuinely, like, at this present moment in time, Liverpool are probably at the weakest. We'll still batter United. But the best chance that United side has got to beat us is when we're depleted with injuries. I think there's 10 or 11 injuries going into this game. So if they was to get this game called off, loads of fans saying, we should just get the 3 points. I don't want that because I don't want to, I want to go and batter them like 6 or 7-0 just because it's funny and it just makes me happy from
We want tears. We want tears, don't we, Matty? We want tears. That's
yeah. We've grew up having them be dominating us, like absolutely dominating us. This is the best time of my life. Liverpool are amazing. United are worse than Liverpool ever was. Like it's like a dream.
Yeah, it's a weird thing though, because Paul Mitchell said it on Saturday Social on Sky Sports yesterday, maybe, or Friday. I don't know when it was. Saturday. It was yesterday. Jesus. About United and Liverpool have never been at the top together. It's never been United and Liverpool dominating for trophies and titles. It's either been United at the top and Liverpool are trash, or Liverpool at the top and United are trash, which is such a polarizing thing to see. It's such a strange, odd thing. I think for English football and for the Premier League, it'd be great to see United and Liverpool back at the top challenging at the same time. But I don't think any of us want that. We all just want United to go down. I'd love to see them get relegated, but I don't think it's realistic at this stage. And I find it bizarre that we're in a position, or they're in a position where they've got a new manager. I get the protest in the owners, but back your manager, back your team. You can protest your owners all you want, but protesting at a game when they're playing and trying to stop the game isn't going to help that team or that manager. If you want to protest after the game, or protest by not buying tickets, protest by not turning up. Don't go to the game and try and get the game stopped after you've already bought tickets and lined the Glazers' pockets. Like you just
with a superstar bagging around like that.
It's just pointless. You're not achieving anything. You're not achieving anything.
You could argue that the people buying tickets, though, if they didn't buy the tickets, if they sold their tickets on, then it's only going to be other people just buying their tickets and going to the game instead. So you could argue maybe they're just going to buy the tickets and wait outside the stadium, or who knows what will happen. Honestly, I have no clue what to expect from United tomorrow. It wouldn't surprise me if it was a full stadium. It wouldn't surprise me if it was dead empty. Both ways. Hopefully the game just does go ahead, as we said. And remember, tomorrow we will be here. Louis commented here for a watch along, post-match as well, and tomorrow morning. So 3 streams in one day. What more could you want? But yeah, that's it tonight. Thanks for joining me, Damon, Matty, and Tino. We'll be back for LFC Transfer Room. Make sure you do leave a subscribe and a like to the video. Cheers. See you in a bit. Bye.